Okay.
Live.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? It is Friday night. It is 7:30. You are here with the Star Wars friends on the Razor Crest React show, recapping everything Mandalorian that happened in today's episode. So if you haven't watched it yet, make sure you jump out now because we're about to spoil it for you.
All the spoilers.
I'm Justin Oldham. I'm your host tonight. With me, as always, are my Star Wars friends.
This is Josh, and I just wanted to remind everyone that we're all the same.
This is Kyle, and I don't know. I think two of us are at least a little different than the other three.
And this is Maggie, and all I've been thinking about today is Mr. Brown Eyes.
They were dreamy.
And joining us today is a very special guest who I co-host with every Saturday for our Mando Night recaps. It is the one and only Candace of the Geeky Waffle.
Hi. Thanks,
welcome.
For having me back.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
That was my wrestling promo.
I got a couple notes, but it's all right.
I've heard worse. Yeah.
And for those that tuned in last week, Josh had this awesome wrestling promo intro, and it like cut out like right at this one part, and it was like right at the climax of it. And I was like, "Oh, dang it!"
That's all right.
But Candace, welcome. We're happy to have you on here with the Star Wars friends, as always. Everybody, hope you're doing well on this Friday night. Hope you got a beverage of choice in hand. We got a lot to talk about this week. We have, another good episode from Mandalorian. We have all this Disney news. We actually have some late breaking news from StarWarsCelebration.com. If you haven't yet, go out to StarWarsCelebration.com because you can enter to win 4 VIP passes to Star Wars Celebration 2022.
Hot off the presses.
Yes,
I've already been threatened.
With that package, I think you get all of the 40th anniversary merch.
Every single thing they released.
Every single thing they released. So it is a monster package. So go out, get registered. If you win, you got to take one or two of us. It's part of the deal.
Count me
we
for
are not
one of
affiliated.
Those, Master Jedi packages, please.
Yes, we are not affiliated with Star Wars Celebration, but we're
willing to be, though.
We're willing to be. But yes, go out and register, or don't register, and increase my odds, please.
Yes.
It's a win-win.
No, guys, it's not worth it. Don't register.
It's
You know what? I
idea.
think you might have missed the deadline already.
Yeah, it's
Sorry about that.
Justin, why did you even bring that up, man? Come on.
Winners will be announced January 8th. So it's fast. It's a quick turnaround on the competition. So I'm sure they notify everybody via email. So, again, make sure you go out, get registered, and enjoy. So before we dive into some of the latest news here and touch on that, we're going to start with an update on our Transgender Law Center fundraiser. So I'm going to turn it over to Maggie to provide some updates on that.
Yes. So we are at $18,250 with almost 600 donors who have gotten involved with this fundraiser. We started it back in September, and it is running until December 20th. So you still have plenty of time. That is next Sunday, which is crazy that it's almost over. And still, like the support that this has received has been tremendous. Especially considering today's episode, it is really important.
Consider donating $15 for chapter 15 if you feel the urge.
Yes, and then next week, $16 for chapter 16. So, yes, and
then maybe $1 for each Star Wars series they announced at the Disney Investor Call. Like, just add it all together.
Yeah, just add it all up. End of the year donation. You can write it off on your taxes next year. So. It's a good thing to do, and I know that the Trans Law Center is incredibly grateful for our support.
That is a huge amount. It is nothing to scoff at. So
it's
kudos,
been surreal.
Kudos. Yeah, that is awesome.
All the Star Wars fandom, it has been truly, truly remarkable.
Yeah, Star Wars fandom normally is pretty good. We do occasionally get those people who are flat out jerks.
There's some turds out there. It's unfortunate, but
there are
what
some
are you
giant
gonna do?
Star Wars turds out there. But hopefully everybody that's joining us, if you're new here, we welcome you with open arms. We value everybody's Star Wars opinions on this show. We love to hear it. If you love Empire Strikes Back, if you hate Empire Strikes Back, whatever it may be. If you love Beaumont, good for you. If you don't like Beaumont, hey,
No, I'm
join the
sorry.
club.
Inconceivable. You got to draw the line
I draw
somewhere.
the line.
So we welcome it. Well, there he was. He made an appearance. We value your Star Wars opinions, and we consider you our friends. So if you're a first-time listener, welcome. We're happy to have you. If you've been with us every Friday night, thanks again for joining us. We love having you guys on every Friday night to take maybe an hour or two out of your evening, spend it with us, have a cold drink, and talk a little bit of Mandalorian or Clone Wars or whatever it may be that we're talking about. So in this instance, we're talking Mando. But before we get to that, I got two things. Number one, I want to give a real quick shout out to our friends at Rebel Art Empire, Anthony and Mandy. And the Thrawn pin looks amazing. I can't wait. I'm like, where is my pre-order button? Like right now, like I'm going to have the page loaded, ready to go on launch day. And I'm going to hit that button like 2 or 3 times. So kudos. It looks great.
At it again.
Yes.
We need to just get on like a pull list with them. They put out a pin. Just send it to us and send us an invoice.
Get me the bill. Yeah.
Just go ahead and here's my card. Just take my card number. It's good. But that's the first bit of news. The second bit of news, yesterday we had.
Did something happen yesterday?
Oh, maybe a little thing.
I blacked out for a bit.
Oh man.
I mean, when they kept dropping news like that, just over and over and over again, it's kind of like the wrestling meme with who's the head wrestling guy, Vince McMahon, and he's in his chair and he
head wrestling guy
continues to lean back. That's kind of what it felt like. That's kind of what it felt like yesterday when they kept just rolling new stuff out, and not just Star Wars stuff. We're talking Marvel.
I tuned out.
Yeah, we're talking.
Like, I hit a wall.
Everything. And we're not going to dive too much into the Marvel stuff in this show. We're going to keep it mostly centralized on the Star Wars stuff.
Loki, though.
But yeah, Loki looks good. I'm happy to see some of the returning cast members for Thor. Just all the What If series. I cannot wait for the What If series. There's just a ton of stuff coming out.
They need to do a What If for Star Wars. I love the concept.
Yeah, they did
They've done comics like that.
Yeah. Yep. They've got a live action Pinocchio. I think. I
just want to pitch the
idea
for a What If Star Wars where Corky Kenobi is canon.
That's not What If, Maggie.
Is
that
he
is
not?
canon.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
That's kind of the premise behind the What If.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
Hayden Christensen's back.
Yes.
Oh yes.
13-year-old Maggie.
Don't breeze over that.
No. So.
Yeah.
So this beautiful picture that Josh put up here. Here is everything Star Wars related. So you've got Vision.
Everything Lucasfilm.
Yep. You've got Visions, Mandalorian, Droid Story, Lando, Rogue Squadron, which is a movie.
Patty Jenkins.
Yep. Yeah. Rangers of the New Republic, Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, The Acolyte, and The Bad Batch. And that reel for The Bad Batch made it look super, super cool.
Nick Shand is in it.
Yes.
I'm so pumped about so many of these things, and I think that Visions, those like animated short films, are going to be really, really, really cool, and they're also going to irritate like the exact right people for me. So it's gonna be like a 2-for-1. I'm gonna love it.
It's the Galaxy of Adventures, right? Somebody haters of those.
Yeah, it's different. I think it's different Japanese anime short flicks, and that's what makes it super cool, because Japanese anime can vary from different things. So I'm super excited about that one. The Lando one kind of came out of nowhere. That was super cool to hear about. The Droid Story, I'm not super familiar with what that one's about.
They said they're going to introduce a new character.
They're like mentoring another droid.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the droid cartoon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think they're going to just take things from that? The Kylo Ren's going to come back?
Oh my God, please.
Yeah. I mean, I could take bits and pieces from that, and if they put it in there, I'd be okay with that. I mean, there's so much stuff. The Bad Batch looked really, really cool because it kind of filled a question, at least in the teaser trailer. I think what we had asked was, how do you make that character arc for the Bad Batch succeed? I mean, obviously at the end of Clone Wars, the clones turned, and we get to the end of Revenge of the Sith. So it's like, how do you extend that? But here we can clearly see, and at least the way they set it up was that the clones have turned on him. Did anybody else get that out of that reel?
Yeah.
At some point we see the Emperor announced the formation of the First Galactic Republic.
Yeah.
So it's really cool that those timelines are going to overlap, but who knows how much of that first season is going to take place before that. You know, maybe that's the end of the first season. You
I don't know.
really know.
I don't know.
To build up to that.
Mm-hmm.
I was so
Although-
skeptical about Bad Batch, and that trailer, like Lauren is saying, like totally piqued my interest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I was kind of the same boat. Like, how are they going to make this arc go for, a couple seasons? But clearly it looks like they've got some good story behind it that's going to drive it. So, and I thought another interesting thing was the Rangers of the New Republic. I think I had sent that little
Starring Dave
snippet.
Filoni, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
It's
With
a
a
Trapper Wolf vehicle.
Trapper Wolf.
Yeah.
I think I had read somewhere though that it coincides with the conclusion of the Mandalorian, so they're kind of in parallel to each other. So it'll be interesting to see how many seasons that runs.
The press release for it said that both the Ahsoka and the Rangers of the Republic would intersect in a like major climactic way or something.
Yeah,
There's going to be a
I'm not ready for
crossover-
Mando to end yet, so like
crossover event, but that actually puts a pretty long timeline on Mandalorian, because it means it's not going to end until those other two shows both
film.
Get produced and filmed and shot and also come to an end. So at least that's the way I thought it was presented.
We at least get season 3, and we also have to remember this is an investor.
Yeah,
they're trying to bring it to their investor. Cool. So they're trying to throw like a bunch of different things.
They overwhelm you so that their investments go up like they did today, and they skyrocket it.
Yeah, they needed it though after all this COVID stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah,
anybody think that could become a cinematic event, or is it going to be definitely on Disney Plus?
They really push their direct to consumer pivot during that investor call. So I really think that a lot of their program is going to be online, because you can reach so many different people and make people keep subscribing, and then you usually trap them for a year. So
they could do a full-length feature released to Disney Plus, or even a full-length feature released to Disney Plus that they charge for.
I'd be happy if they want to charge me for Rogue Squadron. I will give them all the money.
Also think about the merch with every new character, new design, everything like that. That's
so much money.
That's what real money is.
Can I just say,
as I wear my Ahsoka?
I know.
Well, I mean,
I bought a Boba Fett t-shirt this week. They got me.
They got you, exactly. They got you.
Josh's face. He was just like, what?
Yeah.
No, of all of the announcements yesterday, Rogue Squadron truly was the one that like I cried, because I don't know who watches my Let's Talk About Star Wars, but literally a month ago, I had an episode where I talked about how I wanted Patty Jenkins direct Star Wars, because like I've been directed by her and I like know how good she is and dedicated to a story. And the Rogue Squadron books were my favorite books as a kid.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that was one of my favorites. And Lauren, yes, absolutely agree with you on that.
A full-length animated Star Wars movie.
Yes.
We've talked about that. Like, I would love if rather than more so than a TV return of Ahsoka and Sabine, I would take a full-length movie of that.
Somebody pointed out
that
Taika's logo is animated, whereas everybody else's is a different style. And there was a lot of theories last night about whether or not Taika's could be a full-length animated feature.
That would be cool.
Because he's still writing it, right?
Yeah.
It's not even in pre-production yet.
It's still untitled, no idea. But they did show that like concept art stuff behind Kathleen when she was talking about it. So
that might be better for COVID.
That logo was like really pop arty and flashy.
It was very it reminded me of the holiday special.
Yeah. Speaking of, there's a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special coming.
I saw them announce
That's
that.
awesome.
It's not for like a year or two though.
No, but that's awesome. Josh, can you pull that graphic back up of all the films that we had up there? So did anybody else catch the Ahsoka one?
Yeah.
Anybody else see what that was?
World Between Worlds.
Yep. I saw that label or that design behind it, and I was just like, okay, here we go. Like, what are we gonna do?
Give me Ezra and give me Death.
Maggie.
So that'll be fascinating.
Yes.
But since they're gonna have Hayden and Ewan like already like on set and everything, and World Between Worlds means different times.
Don't do it to me.
That could be. That'd be pretty sweet. Live action, Hayden and that'd be so.
Can you imagine another duel between Hayden Christensen and
13-year-old me
McGregor.
can't handle it.
Mhm.
God.
Mm-hmm.
But like live action Ahsoka.
That's what I was thinking was the Ahsoka in there. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Cannot wait. But yes, tons of news out of Disney yesterday. It was so awesome. It's good to hear. I think the future of Disney, whether it's Star Wars related, Lucasfilm related, whatever their products are, is in really, really good hands right now. And it looks amazing what's coming out. So there's something for everybody in that list. So if you haven't seen it, pretty sure you can get the full rundown of it on Disney Plus, like on their pages, that you can go back and watch the whole thing, I think. But either way, they've got a full list of everything that's dropping in the next couple of years. So
I also
I'm
wrote
excited
an
for
article
Willow.
recapping it all. So you can find that on my page.
Yes.
I was gonna say I was driving when it all I had stopped to get food, and that's when that's when I did my like let me know when something good happens, because they were just talking about like this is how we're gonna take over Latin America and stuff, and I was like, all right, well I don't care about any of this, and then I just read your thread when I got home, because I was like, this is perfect. She's outlined everything. I not to bring us back, but I just want to say before we move on that the like teaser or like announcement trailer for Rogue or for Rogue Squadron was so perfect.
It was great.
I think it was very
Nice.
personal. It was very
Yeah.
cool. It was very personal for her.
It builds a
I
lot
actually-
of trust in me that it's going to be good. So
Yeah.
I thought the Andor one was really good too, and I'm extremely excited about that show.
I've watched that trailer like 10 times
Yeah.
For
And-
science, right, Maggie? For science.
for science.
I think actually in the back there was one quick shot where you could see the volume. Did anybody else notice
Yes.
that? Yeah. So they're clearly using it for a lot of their other Star Wars products.
Lots
right
of
now.
speculation, because you could see some of the artboards on the wall, and people thought that they saw a few familiar characters up there. One was people thought they saw Quinlan Voss art, and that like made my heart race with excitement. So we'll see if that's actually something, or if they were just using that for reference.
It was like the storyboard for was it Mando before it started, or was it one of the movies where it said like Dragon on it and everybody was flipping out like,
that's
oh my god,
High
Dragon in
Republic.
Star
It's
Wars.
High Republic.
Yeah, oh my god, Dragon in Star. Well, we already had one. People.
They had
It was a
dinosaurs.
Great Dragon.
It was dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
And High
Yes,
Republic.
that's it. Thank you. Go ahead, Kyle.
One of the things that Kathleen Kennedy was talking about during the presentation is how they've expanded the volume, they've made it larger, they're building 3
volumes.
more, they're making one in Australia, and I think maybe one in the UK.
One in
But-
London, one in Australia, one
Yeah.
in Los Angeles. Thor, God of Love and Thunder, or whatever it's called, is using the volume in Australia.
How hot do you think that thing is in there? With all those like LCD screens, just like
Well, they
those
don't
waves
produce a lot of
just
heat, and it's
coming down on
huge.
people.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too bad. Probably no hotter than the studio usually is. The lights are unbearable.
Yeah.
They're
That's
probably
crazy.
less hot than the big halogen
Yeah.
studio lights.
I
That
would
could
say
be.
probably
Yeah.
lighter.
Yep. Well, we are here today to talk on this Fetastic Friday about The Mandalorian. We had season 2, episode 7, chapter 15, The Believer. Is that right? Did I get that right? The Believer in this episode. It was not as it didn't have the magnitude star power that some of the other episodes have had, but it was definitely seismic in its own way.
It was seismic, all right.
Anybody get my earthquake jokes there? Dad jokes.
Geologist
See, that's what
over
happens
here.
when I'm delivering. But no, this was kind of a
You're gonna get us
episode.
kicked off YouTube.
This was kind of a very calm. I don't want to say calm because it was action packed, but it was not what we have seen the last 3 episodes, where we've got Ahsoka and we've got Moff Gideon and Dark Troopers and Boba Fett, and we've got Bo-Katan from the one before. It's just
I don't have
this one was a
Bo-Katan here, sorry.
little bit calmer.
She's behind you.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, there she is. She's right there. It was a little bit calmer, but still delivered a lot of what do I want to say? Meaningful content in this episode. I actually really, really enjoyed this, and this is coming from a guy who loves the Imperial side of things, and I love seeing like that kind of standpoint from things. And we really got, I think, a different perspective from Bill Burr in this episode, who I don't know where that performance came from, but he was good. He was really good.
He
was really good.
He well exceeded expectations.
Yeah,
I didn't know he had it in him, frankly.
Yeah, and I kind of expected him to be in this episode kind of just as a little smaller part, and he actually had most of this episode. This was his episode. Yeah. It was cool to see. Candace, what was your overall impression of the episode just as a whole before we dive into maybe some of the likes and dislikes of it?
Yeah, I thought it was one of the best episodes of the season. It might be the best so far. And I really, because I prefer the character-driven stuff, and this was so character-heavy, and you get growth from Den, but you also get growth from this character that we just like saw in this one episode. And I love seeing how the big Star Wars affects people outside of like the rebellion. So seeing that's amazing.
Like the villagers, whatever planet you're on, doesn't matter what side you're on, it affects everybody. And we really got that message, I think, from Bill later in the episode, which we'll get to. But I mean, overall, you're right. It was a character-driven episode. Yes, a lot of action in it. Yes, a lot of cool scenes. I'm not gonna lie. I literally was watching it at like 11 this afternoon. I had the day off today. I was sitting on my couch enjoying it actually on the big screen instead of on my iPad. Yeah. So and they got to the escape scene a little bit later on, and when I saw that seismic charge come out the back, I was doing this.
I was like, oh, the boys are gonna love this.
Yes, loved the seismic charge. I love that.
The sound effect on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just that, I mean, it brings you right back to
the prequels.
Attack of the Clones. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I loved it. So, Josh, as the resident Boba Fett expert here, what did you think of Boba in this episode? He didn't talk as much as last episode, but
wait, Josh, I have a question.
Okay.
So was he like painting while they were?
Thank you.
Apparently, yeah,
he was on an easel.
He had a hyperspace project. Obviously,
was it like paint by the numbers or something? What's going on? He's got by.
I don't know.
He's very particular about that paint scheme.
And honestly, I didn't love it. Like it wasn't. It was fine,
either.
and I get why you do it.
Clean.
No,
good.
It was so clean.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm a new man. He's like, I'm a new man, and I'm very clean.
It's almost like a matte version of his previous one. Not saying that the other one was too glossy, but this is like you see his logo up in
not
the.
At all
kind of like a toy.
But you know why they did this? You know why they did this? So that they can sell new toys.
Merchandising.
Brand new toys. No longer the same toys from the last 40 years. You get brand new Boba Fett.
There aren't enough of those figures.
Sabine will fix it.
Yeah. Sideshow will be rolling out a new Boba Fett.
I liked this version better.
Yeah.
I thought this looked cooler.
Yes.
I did too.
That version. Yep. Yeah. It was
you know, if they, sorry, Justin, if they do a line of like why he painted it, why it was important to him for it to be that way, I could get on board with it. Because, you know, there are Mandalorians who paint their armor in a certain way because of their family, or Sabine was very particular about the way she painted hers just for her own personal reasons. So if he gave me a reason, I could get on board with that. But
he had to match his ship
because I don't know.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was like trying to calculate. I was like, man, how long were they like traveling that he had time to like be like, yo, everybody, I'm painting my armor, leave me alone. And then like it dried. I just pictured, okay, but just for a moment, let me paint a picture for you. Picture Din.
Don't touch it.
Picture Din sitting there like, my kid was taken by the Empire and you're gonna paint. This is what we're doing.
He has a crafting room.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that was really weird. It looks like he's got a conference room in the middle of his ship instead of any kind of like cargo. Because like as they were taking off, you could see it rotating like this when his ship goes vertical.
No, I thought that was super cool.
I always wondered about that.
Yeah, but he's got like a conference room set up in there. Like,
he's very.
What is that? Like, he's got chairs just chilling in there. So, and you know, maybe he. I mean, we do know that some hyperspace jumps are particularly long, right? Like Luke and Obi-Wan and Han were clearly just chilling in the cafe area of the Millennium Falcon. So maybe it was a long jump. And he was like, you know what? I'm just going to take some time, airbrush my armor up real quick, get it looking right. Hey, I'll try a matte finish. I think somebody
do
had
something
commented they
new.
went to Space Michael's. Like,
I'm a new man. I'm gonna do Matt this time.
Can you imagine if he comes out in his new armor and like nobody's complimenting him? How?
Well, I think we saw that happen.
Finnick's just sitting there like.
That's why you didn't
Like,
see him take his
anything
helmet
new?
off this time because he was
Anything
crying.
Yeah.
There was tears in his eyes.
I'll just stay on the ship, guys. It's fine. Nobody complimented my new
Nobody
armor.
noticed
It's
his
fine.
haircut.
Hey, I think hair is a sore subject.
That's rude.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He's compensating. He's like, I have no eyebrows. I need a nice paint job.
Yeah, totally. I need to derail for a second because I feel like a proud papa right now.
Loved it because Operation Cinder was mentioned, and I'm in the middle of reading alphabets. Yes, good book. So I got to understand a reference for once. Yes,
that book.
it is a very good book. And the second one is equally as good.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah,
And the third one's
that
coming out
series
later
is
this
solid.
year,
Yeah,
later next year. So.
yeah. It's Operation Cinder, and especially if you go back to Battlefront 2. With Iden Versio. That's where a lot of the background on it came from. So it was nice to get that mention in the show and that history of the event. And it was actually honestly kind of cool to see the two Imperial guys talking about it, sitting around a table, and we'll get there in a minute. But let's start at the beginning here. So we open up Bill's clearly on Carthon, the chop, and then the Carthon chop fields is what they were called. And we did on our show earlier in the week, we kind of projected that that's what it was a chop field for old spaceships. So you saw a lot of TIE fighters, different bits and pieces of vehicles. You saw those giant like 6-legged things with cranes in the back, just lifting stuff out. But we open and here's Bill just working in his fields, serving his 50-year sentence in the Carthon chop fields. And we see those lovely New Republic droids again with their little vibro staffs. If you get out of line, and he kind of approaches Bill Burr, he calls out his prison number. And then here comes Cara Dune around the corner.
He said that number
Marshall,
a lot of times.
Marshall Cara Dune, who went legit around the corner. Yeah, she's not a joiner though. Yeah. She comes around the corner.
She's only joined
basically
everything
says,
that she's had the opportunity to join. But
she's like, "Hey, you need to come with me. You're being released." She's like, "Okay." And I love his banter as he's walking back. He's like, "Can you at least tell me where we're going? It's common courtesy to tell somebody where you're taking them." And then he gets up to the ship.
I don't think that's true if you're a prisoner.
No. And he gets up to the ship, and I love it because Boba Fett comes out and he's like,
that comment.
He goes, "Oh, you're not." He's like, I was expecting someone else or something.
I thought you were the other guy.
The other guy, and then sure enough, here comes Mando, and you just see his head go like this, and he's like, "Damn it!" And this kind of starts that adventure of, "Hey, we need your help. You still know your Imperial codes, your Imperial protocols. We need your help." And he's like, "Okay, let's go." And they're like, "Well, you really don't have a choice." So they take him on the ship. They start explaining to him what's going to happen. And at first he's like, "So what's in it for me?" And they're like, "Nothing. We're pulling you out of prison. You might get a better prison sentence. That's about it." He's like, "All right." So what did you guys think
really had
of the
no choice
opening here? Yeah, like Kyle, when we look at Bill, right, from the last time we saw him and what his character was doing and how he was, what was your, I guess, image of him at the start of this episode versus where you last saw him at?
Well, if you remember from that last episode, I was not thrilled about it. Like I didn't think the episode itself was great, and I didn't think he was great. I think he was like kind of one note and kind of on the nose, and like he sounded like a dude from Boston who had a crazy gun on his backpack arm thing. But right from the very beginning, when he jumped down from where he was chopping up the TIE fighter or whatever he was on top of he had a lot more going on, and you could tell like he felt beaten down and broken and depressed, and I could see it in his face and hear it in his voice, and he did a better job than I thought Bill Burr was capable of doing in like a semi-dramatic role.
He was very somber.
Even the accent was gone. Like it was softened so much. I was like, oh, thank God.
When we found him, he was a he was stripping an Imperial relic, and he himself is also an Imperial relic.
Oh, that is so poetic. Yeah.
Whew, Josh with the deep cut there. Dang.
I have a deep cut later on. Just wait.
That's okay. So they
like
get in the
5.
ship, and they're flying. They basically, I can't remember the planet's name. Does anybody remember where they were headed? What the planet was?
Moffat
or
Harsh
something?
but fair.
Same.
Harsh but fair.
Yes.
Something with an M.
Yes. So they head to this planet, and they kind of do a flyby a little bit, and then they land, and they go to scope out basically how they're going to get into this Imperial relic base, right? This remnant base that's doing mining of rhyodium, right? Rhydonium. It's rhydonium, right?
Rhydonium.
Very explosive stuff.
It's like the Star Wars version of TNT. It's just like it just blows up all the time.
Lots of
Very-
rhydonium in Rebels getting blown up in firefights.
Very hazardous. Very hazardous. So they're on this planet mining rhydonium, and yes, I don't mind a Boston
Nothing
accent.
personal.
I don't
It's
mind
okay.
a Boston accent. It's okay. So they get to this. They get to this planet, and they're kind of basically like, all right, how are we going to get in here? And Bill's kind of giving them the rundown. And this part was awesome because as they're trying to figure out who is going to go into this building.
Well, he's still trying to get
Love
out
this
of it the
moment.
whole time.
I know.
Bill Burr is like, well, she can't do it. She can't do it. He
Yeah.
can't do it. He's not taking his helmet off. Sorry, guess we better go home.
Yeah.
Can't happen.
Kara's
Can we
like,
talk about how he's like, Boba, you do it, and Boba's like,
yeah, he goes, I had it here. Ah, dang
He's
it.
like, I
had that
think
quote.
they might know me.
Yeah,
They
he's
might
like,
know
I
my
think they might
face.
recognize my face. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I was
we
like,
only
they're
ever saw your
cute.
helmet before, but
Except
Yeah.
that
Well, no, it's because
same
he's the
face as
clone
Jake.
of
in the clone, right?
every single
Yeah,
clone
they know
trooper
his-
in
they
the
literally know
entire
his
Grand
face.
Army of the Republic.
The
Yes.
Imperials
It was
own
hilarious.
his DNA. you
Yes.
know?
It was hilarious.
They were just like,
he's literally the most famous person there by like leaps and bounds too.
Did-
Yeah, I felt like that
Mhm.
was such a deep cut though, that like most casual, because I had to explain that to like my mom, because she's like, why do they know his face? And I was like, clones.
Yeah.
So I love that that was a deep cut.
I just
Oh,
love
yeah.
how Din knows nothing about like the
He's-
history. of
Oh, he
anything
knows
like
nothing,
that.
Din
No,
Djarin.
he's kind of
so
oblivious.
Jon Snow.
Yes.
Oh, I love that
Oh.
himbo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
he's definitely him.
So they end up. Mando finally says, "Look, I'm going in." And he's like, "I'm doing it. I have to do it." Right? He's like, "But I'm
Well,
not
after
showing my
he-
face."
It's after he sees the helmet inside of the.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's like,
He
oh.
sees the two drivers, and he says, I'm doing it, but I'm not showing my face." So they,
famous last words.
yeah. So the three of them, Cara, Bill, and Mando, kind of go over that little archway. They drop down onto one of the transports, and they go into the cockpit of the transport, and Cara just manhandles the two drivers, just can't even get out of their seat, and she just wrecks them and throws them to the floor. And so Bill changes into the tank driver's outfit, and Mando changes into the tank driver's outfit. And when I loved seeing the reuse of the tank driver from Rogue One. That's
Yes.
where that's what that outfit was. It's a shade of green, but it was
Yeah.
really cool to see that reused as a tank driver. And later on, you get to shore troopers that were also in Rogue One. But it was really cool to see the reuse of that armor just repainted in a different style. So kind of like Stormtrooper armor is repainted. There's red versions for Magma Troopers. There's black versions for Shadow Troopers. Some have, like the Incinerator Trooper that we saw in season 1 of Mando. He had the red kind of stripes and around the cowl and down the center. So I love seeing them reuse the same armor but doing different paint schemes on it. So they get in there. He's got his new helmet on. He looks ridiculous, and Bill cannot stop. Let me rephrase it. Miggs cannot stop just teasing him about it. Like, wow, you look ridiculous. What
But
if
can I
what
talk
if the
about
Mandalorians
Miggs?
could see you?
Miggs revealed so much about Mandalore and his he talked about like the wars and the people, and like dude knows his like Mandalorian history. And I love that, because that was one of my number one wishes, was that we would learn more about Mandalore and where it is in the world right now. And so like even though it was Miggs being Miggs,
Yeah.
we learn so much more, and I love how casual they're dropping like information, because it's gonna come back full circle either in this third season or in a future project, because nothing is casually brought up.
Remember that Topps spoiler that we didn't think was that big of a deal back in the day?
Which one? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yep.
All this time that was Mando.
Yep. That's crazy.
I just love his sad walk in the armor.
My favorite
is the Charlie Brown music. You know, you
can see the difference between when Brendan Wayne is in it and when Pedro's in it, because Brendan's got swagger in every armor piece that he's in. And if you notice that all the cast members call him Swagger on social media, so you know that's him.
I thought Bill Burr's character was making more of a point of like the military industrial complex that is Mandalorian culture, and just that's how it's always been. And then he said that thing too about it doesn't exist anymore, because he said, which I really liked, if you're from Alderaan, you believe one thing. If you're from Mandalore, you believe something else. But guess what? They're both gone now. Which
that was a deep blow. And Din's just sitting over there like this.
Maggie, didn't you think that was just propaganda? That's what you said.
Yeah, it did. It definitely felt like propaganda.
Well, that's what Bo-Katan was saying in her episode, is that don't believe everything you hear. You know, when Din was talking about Mandalore being cursed and you can't go there and everybody dies and and you know, that's just the propaganda that the Empire is spreading, because they know they can't control the Mandalorians if they're actually unified.
Yeah.
And look, Din seems to be the person that can unify them. He makes friends with everyone. He's a very, very
he just doesn't like most of them back.
Likable guy. Yeah.
He trusts
He's a very
you
likable
easily.
guy.
He trusts you easily.
He does. And I thought it was very interesting in this episode. There's clearly a point where, and we'll get to it in a little bit, I don't think he trusts Bill completely.
No, he doesn't.
And you'll see what I mean when he gets there. But you know, so they're going through, and yes, Bill is just ribbing him on this. Migs, is ribbing him on this the entire time. Like, you look ridiculous in this outfit. The mighty Mandalorian wearing Imperial armor. He was trying to get him to take
the helmet off so bad.
Yep. And he was getting on him a little bit.
Yeah, same.
He's the audience.
You know, when I think at this point, you know, they're going on this trip, and you know, they encounter some blown up transports of Rhydonium, and Bill's just kind of looking at it like, oh shit, like this is a little nerve-wracking, or Migs is like, this is a little nerve-wracking. And then they get to this village and he slows down, he honks the horn, you know, the kids kind of move out of the way. And I loved the shot with Mando looking at the kid as he's driving by, you know, kind of, I think he was probably in a very similar situation as that kid when he was found as a foundling.
He's also thinking about his kid.
He's thinking about his kid.
And thinking 100%. About his kid. There's a lot going through his head right there. And, you know, we kind of move on forward and they're still making their way. And then we encounter some pirates, which that came out of nowhere. Like, hey, look, and this is the same species as Sacy-Teen, maybe? I'm guessing. Because he has the same kind of
skin flaps.
mantra, whatever you want to call them, on the side of his head. So maybe the same species. I didn't get that yet, but when we do our deep dive later on this week.
I hope not.
We'll
Candace,
talk about
I'll send you what I said.
Okay,
We don't need it mentioned.
But we get some pirates, and Din has no trouble with the first wave. And I loved the action shots of him chucking bodies off the side of the tank. One goes off the front and gets run over. One goes off the side and gets like run in the tire.
He did learn a quick lesson though, that you know, this isn't his armor.
No.
Okay. Can I wax philosophical for a moment? Can I wax philosophical for a moment and just talk about this entire thing really struck me, because as we've seen throughout the season, this evolution of Din and essentially having his proverbial armor being cracked,
chipped away.
I mean, the first hits was with Cobb, and then with Bo, and then with Boba, and he has finally literally been stripped of his armor, and he's now in. Yes, that is, yes. So he lost his home. He lost everything that has tied him to the covert.
His son.
His son is gone.
His son is
His
gone.
armor is taken.
Stop it! That's me.
His armor
made
is
me
taken
cry.
off of him. He's wearing somebody else's armor, but he's still a Mandalorian, so he's still fighting like a Mandalorian. And as soon as he goes to block a shot, like he has always done because of his identity as a Mandalorian, it breaks and he gets hurt. And so essentially he has to quickly adapt to being someone else, to being just a person, not a Mandalorian. And we have finally reached this point in Din's arc where like he has to come to terms with what he knew of Mandalore and what the actual truth is, and like who he can actually be as a person. And like Candace said earlier, this episode was so character driven, and so much of like the really meaty parts was the underlying like allusions to things that like you can really dig into and be like, Rick is incredible in creating this episode, both
What
writing and directing.
He decided this episode was, you know how you're like, okay, I'm this first, and then I'm that, and then I'm that. I think he decided to be a parent first, and then a Mandalorian. You know, he's like, he's accepted. This is my kid. Everyone's saying, oh, your kid's gone. And he doesn't correct them. He's like, I need to get him back.
That's my son.
And what
basically.
he says at the end, too.
Is,
you know, so this is Den stepping up and realizing he's a parent first and foremost. And he will do whatever it takes as a parent to protect his child.
And I think he learned a valuable lesson from just the last episode with Boba Fett. Boba Fett wrecked a bunch of stormtroopers with a gaffy stick. He didn't have his armor on. He didn't use any he just started wrecking people that showed the warrior that he is and how determined he was to overcome that situation. I think that's where Mando just kind of clicked, like, I can do this too. And like I said, he had no trouble with the first wave. Second wave was a little bit more difficult. You know, he tells
numbers, volume. You know, it's how the separatist droid army worked.
Yeah. So he gets through the second wave and he tells Bill to speed up, which clearly aggravates the Rhydonium. It starts to like get into the red, and Bill says, "I got to slow down."
This was such a video game.
Yes. This was Mad Max.
The main boss.
Essentially,
Yes,
this
it was
Mad
Max.
It was Mad Max with the oil tanker trying to keep the crazies off.
Yes,
completely.
I loved it.
And it was fun to watch. It was just a fun chase scene to watch. Miggs is a little tense, you know, in the front seat trying to drive and not blow up. Mando's a little bit tense. Yeah, Mando's a little tense up on top, where his armor is just breaking apart as he's trying to fend off these guys. He literally picks up a live thermal detonator and chucks it back at the two behind him, and it literally blows up right in front of the first one, which takes out the second one. And at that point,
what's
I think
he gonna do? Leave it there?
And it blew him back. It blew him back onto the top of the thing, and then out of the smoke and debris, here come three more, and he's just like,
Ben was not having a good day.
No, it was not fun for him.
And this train heist thing is like not super unique to Star Wars either. You know, very similar to the storming of the whatever ship trying to leave the harbor he did with the Night Owls in the one episode. You know, they do the train heist in Solo. They did it in Rebels, trying to rescue Sabine's
Everything
dad.
is just a Western, and we're all robbing the train.
Yep.
Well, and the Westerns robbed the samurai movies, so we are.
It's a full circle.
Well,
A Venn diagram of Star Wars, Western films, and samurai films.
Yeah. But speaking of a Western, as he's just looking at this next wave of pirates with despair, in comes the cavalry, the air cavalry. We had TIE fighters.
I have never been so excited to see TIE fighters in my life.
I was excited to see him do something and like blow something up for a change instead of getting shot down. I was super excited.
Very rare for a TIE fighter to be coming to the rescue in Star Wars. Yeah.
And, you know, they get to the bridge and he's got to slow down. And that's where I think he really started to get worried. And then the TIE fighters come in. And at this point, you know, they're cheering and they get help. They get help coming out from the base. You have, this lovely shot of shore troopers and stormtroopers coming out to assist them in getting rid of the pirates. Again, I love the shore trooper armor. I think it's super cool. I love the tank trooper armor. That's also a cool one. tend to prefer the white helmet with the white pads on from Rogue One, but that's just me. But the green version was really, really cool too. So, but they get to this base and they are just applauded. They're applauded. Look at this. They're saluting him. They're applauding him because that was the only transport that made it through. The only transport that made it through. And they passed the wreckage and he saw the explosion of like 2 others is the only transport to make it through. And they get in there and it's very much a scene of A New Hope after they blow up the Death Star and Luke's getting out of the X-Wing cockpit and they're all giving him high fives.
So many weird emotions.
Because it was on the other side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the first time the Empire's ever done this.
They should have been super sus that they had capable people.
Okay, honestly, as soon as they saw that somebody could shoot straight, I was like, not a stormtrooper.
I actually thought that's how they were going to get caught later when the officer was like, so you guys are the only ones that made it through, huh? Our people normally suck, so what's going on here?
Take your helmet off. Who are you?
Our troopers are terrible. What's going on? This is suspicious.
Can we just talk about how the Empire's big win was literally because of not being like Imperials?
And it was delivering a truck of gas, basically.
Pretty much.
I am disappointed that nobody was like, aren't you a little short? Like that line didn't get worked in at all. I was very disappointed by that.
Maggie, they're desperate. They'll take any height.
This is true. We're past the point. They're like,
yep. So they get in now. So they get in and they get out of the transport and they're high-fiving and saluting and he's like, all right, well we got to get to the mess hall because that's where the
food is.
Well, the food, the chow, but also the comms relay, right? That they got to get to.
This is where the striptease happens.
So at this point, though, as they start to go in, Miggs recognizes a familiar face, and that was Valen Hess, who he served under when he was still in the Empire. And he's hesitant to go in, and he says, "I can't do it. He's going to recognize me. I can't do it." Din goes, "Give me the code cylinder. I'll do it." He's like, "But you got to take your helmet off," and he's like, all right, just give me the cylinder. So he walks in and he does that initial scan. And this is what I said earlier. He didn't trust Bill Burr at that point because he let it scan him with the helmet on. And my thinking was that he still doesn't trust Bill that you have to take your helmet off to do it. But after it scans him and it says, "Oh, there's an error. We're counting down from 10 and then we're going to alert people." He went, "Oh shit." And he says, I have to take my helmet off in order to achieve this mission to go save the kid. Chewbacca.
Yeah, that's right up Justin's alley.
Yep, that's a good dad joke right there.
Also happy to know that people are watching us through Periscope. Hello.
Yeah. Hey.
So a Twitter listener here with Bosk the Bosk. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was a very cool moment. Like he's still very hesitant of Bill and doesn't want to listen to him, but he straight up told him the truth when he got there. And
see, I read it as he was trying to do it and seeing if he could get away with it that way so that he would be forced into having to take the helmet off. Because I feel like he was still grappling with like, well, maybe it'll work this way. Maybe I can do it this way. And then when he had no choice, he was like, all right, I have to commit to the bit.
Yeah. Either way, he at this point goes, I got to take the helmet off. And this is not, and I don't know what you guys thought, Candace, I don't know what you thought on this. Is this the way you thought you would see Din's face in this season again?
Yeah, this is actually what Maggie and I have predicted. We said he's going to have to show his face somehow or for some reason for Grogu. He's going to have to take the helmet off for his son.
Keep it in your
same tab.
Yeah, this is when Maggie passed out. And I admittedly did too. I will admit.
I had a feeling it was coming because since Tiernan is on the screen right now, Tiernan texted me, was like, "You're going to be happy." And I was like, yes, the helmet is coming off.
Yeah, I had thought like he would have taken it off like in the presence of Grogu at some point, not
harsh but fair.
In order to get to Grogu. That was a big difference, I think, in my take. I just figured he was going to take it off in front of Grogu for some reason.
Can
Go ahead,
I
Megan.
do a deep cut? So this equates a little bit later into the episode, but I do want to point out something that just came to me while we were sitting here is the fact that IG-11 removed his helmet and was essentially redeemed. So IG-11 was, an assassin droid, bounty hunter droid, whatever, and then became a nurse droid and was like essentially redeemed in the eyes of Den by helping him and taking his helmet off. And now we have Miggs, who was not a good guy and has seen Den without his helmet on and has essentially been redeemed. And so I think that there's an interesting, I don't know if it is an intentional dynamic, but this like seeing Den without his helmet on has had a transformative experience for these characters. And I personally think that is like tremendous. And I'm sorry, everybody wants to talk, so shut up.
No, you're fine.
Is that because it's Pedro's face and he's so beautiful and he makes everyone
I saw his face on the set of Wonder Woman 1984, and I've never been the same. So maybe it's just Pedro. I mean,
Maggie was committing crimes before this, guys.
What do you got, Josh?
Yes, actually.
Tinfoil hat theory for the season finale.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
They make it to Moff Gideon. Din is fighting him with a spear. Somehow, mid-fight, his helmet comes off. And Moff Gideon is redeemed and sets down the Darksaber. He gives it to him.
He's too pretty. He's too pretty.
I can't do it.
I can't harm this beautiful
Nice.
man.
I've never heard a face like that.
It's too pretty. I mean, to be honest, I haven't recovered from the mountain hurting that face. So I'm going to need that helmet to stay on during any... I'm going to need it. I'm going to need it to stay on during any battles with a staff.
But to make it go completely full circle and weird, we need to have somehow the Mithril, Terry Mithril is also there because it's Horatio Sands and he can reprise that old SNL bit where Chris Kattan is like the sexy, like Latino dancer guy or whatever. And he's like, oh no, I'm sexy, my friend. Like that's what I want to happen when the helmet comes off. But
well, 50-50, I think there's at least a good chance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that he'll take the helmet off for the kid in the finale. I think they'll get the child back. Yeah. And he'll take it off. And I even have dialogue.
Private
planned
moment.
In my head.
He gives little kisses. They're like, you're
little
my
hello
son.
friend.
Well,
Kyle, what did you have there?
So I was going to say, I agree that Bill Burr did... I think we see him... I think you could say he was redeemed, but... I don't know that he ever really needed redemption. I think we just learned more about him because he was explaining to us that, yeah, he was an Imperial, but he takes that personally. Like, he doesn't really like it when people talk about it. It seems like it's something that wasn't really his choice. He was just kind of pushed into service, and he was part of this, like I said before, military-industrial complex that he obviously has, like, problems with. I think that's why he was trying to avoid this officer. He was trying to get out of this whole thing. He didn't want to take part in it. And then when they sit down and they're toasting to the Empire, he just can't take it anymore because he knows these horrible things that this guy did, and he didn't care for the people who died next to him and all these other things. And I think that we just realized that Miggs had a lot more going on than we thought. He's not just this, kind of thoughtless, I'll kill anybody to get paid type of person.
And before I go to Josh real quick here, because he's number one, I want to say hats off, though, to Richard Brake.
Number one, huh?
Richard Brake played Valen Hess, who, if you've ever seen Richard Brake, he always plays like a weird, creepy dude or a bad guy. He was actually, if you haven't seen it, Tremors Shrieker Island on Netflix. If you want just to kill 2 hours, I watched it. It was actually pretty interesting.
It's actually decent.
It's not terrible.
He was the Night King. This guy brings up Tremors.
Yeah,
I know.
He was in Game of Thrones. He's been in Kingsman. He's been in a ton of stuff.
Wait, which Kingsman was he in?
How did you start with the most random Tremors?
Well, because it was the most recent thing that I've watched, and I've actually never watched Game of Thrones, so I didn't know that.
You're like one person.
He was the interrogator in the first one.
Okay.
Yeah. So
because Pedro's in the third one.
Yeah, he's done like a ton of stuff through his career, and he always plays like a weird, creepy bad guy. And this I thought was really, really good work by Richard Brake. I just thought he was this
So creepy.
he's still stuck in those Imperial ways, just an all-around bad dude. And at first, when they got there, I thought we were going to get Sinji Arath Velis as an ISB officer because you brought in Cobb Vanth from the Aftermath novels, and this is in that same time frame. I thought for sure he was going to say Sinji Arath Velis, and I didn't get it. And I was a little disappointed by that. But go ahead, Josh.
Okay, now I have to try to remember what I was going to say.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So that whole like them sitting down with him, it totally felt like that scene in Inglourious Bastards where they're in the bar playing like the card game.
Mm-hmm.
But so to build on what Kyle said, yeah, I don't think that it's necessarily a redemption as much as it is just like adding like multiple layers to a character that was like extremely one-dimensional the first time we saw him. And then just to like piggyback on that, the thing where they where they were sitting down, I was watching a thing earlier that said that that might have also been playing on a Western trope, because I guess a lot of Western movies
there's shootout at the card game, big time.
Well, no, not so much that, but like with the guy with his Southern accent, they were saying that like one Western trope was like defeated Confederate generals like hiding out in Mexico like after the war, and so like these are defeated Imperials hiding out in the Outer Rim.
Oh yeah, I picked up on that too.
I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To go back to what Kyle was saying earlier about Migs and like redemption, I will say, do you think that he was redeemed in the eyes of the characters around him? Because a few characters who will remain nameless definitely had a change of opinion about him based on
for sure.
his actions.
I think
He definitely was redeemed in terms of people's opinions. I don't think that he personally needed to be like redeemed, but I think that the idea of him was redeemed, just like IG-11 and what people assume of a bounty hunter droid was redeemed, so much so that he ended up with a statue. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we're going to get a MiG statue next year, because that would be weird. However, they could come back to that village, and he could have like turned that village around and be like,
folk hero of that town now.
He could be the folk hero of that town. So like he could have a statue next year. Who knows? But I do know that Candace had some really interesting thoughts about MiGs and PTSD, which I thought were awesome.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So his eyes and his reaction, seriously, I didn't know Bill had it in him. I also want to applaud Rick so much for the writing.
God, I shudder to think what he said to him to make him act like that.
I know. Like, it's just, you see him kind of like curl into himself, and his reaction is just like how people react with this. And it's like seeing and being able to relate and see these real human emotions, and in something that's all the way in other galaxies amazing, and still be able to relate to those characters, and just like, there
was so much eye acting both between Pedro and Bill, because there was so much on Pedro's face.
Yeah,
his just like eyebrow movements and subtle things like that, which is
I thought
that face.
That's when he was trying to cover for him.
Yeah.
He's like, he can't hear anymore. He had a charge go off next to him. He can't hear. You got to speak up.
They should have just said he hit his head really hard when we were just winning that little battle with the pirates.
Yeah. Say he's like adrenaline and stuff like that. But I have a question. Do you guys think that Mig's Mig's opinion changed after he saw that Dim was willing to take off his helmet?
100%.
And that kind of maybe inspired him, because it's obvious that Mig's lost people he loved too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it definitely increased his level of respect for him, his commitment.
It's the title of the episode, The Believer. It's the believer in something, and it's quite clear that Din believes in the child and believes in that familial bond, and I think that spoke to Migs, because you could see it when they cut back to Migs when he was watching him through the doorway, and you could see like something shifting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
I felt like once he took the helmet off, that I did see a lot of expressiveness in his eyes, but I also felt like he was acting like someone who is not used to their face being exposed.
All of us after COVID.
There was no smiles or frowns. His mouth never moved. He wasn't making like he wasn't making
he didn't
normal
know what to do.
human facial expressions, and I thought
it felt
that
like
was
he
really
was in shock. I think he was like genuinely in shock of what he had to do because this is also new to him. And I also just like jokingly love the idea that he was like, if I stand really still, this man who is talking to me right now.
He's a T-Rex.
Yeah, they can't see you if you don't move.
He was trying to do the Drax and just become invisible.
He is such a himbo. He's just like, if I stand, because he literally was just like stiff as a board. Like, is he talking to me? Oh no, he's talking to me.
Yeah.
Just like, do you think he's like used to making faces under the helmet? And he's like, I can't do that anymore because people can see my face.
Right.
You know?
We do know that he's really bad at coming up with things on the fly because that whole encounter with the New Republic guy a couple episodes back when he was like, I don't have that program on my ship, and then, oh, would you look at that?
Yeah.
He needs to
He's not much of a smooth talker.
No.
They got
I think that's what
they got everything ready to go.
I think that's what confused. Like, so when Valen Hess walks up and he asks him, he says, "Well, what's your ID?" And he starts just naming fake positions. And he's like, "Lieutenant, squad leader," and he's like, "No." He's like, "What's your TK ID?" And he's like, and that's when I think when Miggs comes up and he's like, "Oh, this is my squad leader. He's
we call
blah
him
blah
Brown
blah."
Eyes.
Yeah, we just call him Brown Eyes. But he took a blast and he can't hear so good, so you got to speak up. And then Valis is like, "What's your TK number?" He's like yelling at him, and Din's just looking stupid, like, "Huh? Is he talking to me? What's happening?" And I think at that point he's like, "Oh, Miggs is covering for me." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "All right, we're going somewhere with this." And he's like, "I'm just gonna play along." And
was he playing along?
Yeah, he didn't have much choice at that point. Much like most of these episodes, Din didn't have a choice when the kid's gone and Boba and Fennec are like, "We're gonna help you now." He's like, "Okay."
Din knows what's going on like 10
He's just going with the flow. He's just going with the flow.
In his defense, when you're in an Imperial disguise and the Imperial officer says specifically, "What's your TK number?"
Yep.
And you have literally no clue whatsoever that even means.
69-420 is always
what are you gonna say? He doesn't know how many numbers. He doesn't know. Is there a dash? Are there other letters? He has no clue. He's just gonna say another dumb thing. Yeah.
So this was
just like, I am a mute.
This was a great lead-in because at this point, Valen's like, "Well, you guys are the guys that drove that tanker back, aren't you?"
He's basically waiting till he has to start shooting his way out.
Yes,
like,
pretty much. Pretty much.
One tool. He doesn't have a tool belt. He just has one tool.
How to interact with people. I can't headbutt.
Yeah.
So them. Yeah, I don't know.
Point where Valen is like, "Oh, you guys made it through. Let's go celebrate. Come have a drink with me," right? And they go over to the table.
I hate my life.
And at this point, Din's like, "This is really awkward." And Miggs is going, "All right, I'll play along with it." This guy clearly doesn't recognize me yet. He doesn't recognize me. But I think Miggs at that point sees it as an opportunity to, I don't want to say vet some frustration, but maybe bring up the past, which he clearly knew with Valen Hess. About what happened on what was the planet Burnham Khan. He's like, let's talk about this a little bit. So they sit down, he pours him a drink, they start talking about the Empire, and they talk about Burnham Khan, which was part of Operation Cinder. It was a mining planet that was essentially burned to the ground. I mean, once it was stripped of what it was needed for, there wasn't anything left for it to be. So clearly Valen had, I'm going to guess they did something to the entire village with their troops still in the village. And that's what Miggs was getting at, was that you killed roughly 5
enemy and their own people or something like that.
You killed like 5 to 10,000 people, innocent women, children, civilians, and our own troops were there. You killed my friends. It reminded me of
Vietnam. Like tremendously the way that it was being discussed, and it sounded like a Vietnam veteran talking about like the things that they saw.
And I think he's a lot of, to your point, Candace, that PTSD is kind of coming out a little bit right now, and he's going back to that moment and his frustration in that moment where maybe his job as a mercenary maybe led him away from that, and he didn't have to think about it so much, because he makes that comment early on to Din. He's like, "It doesn't really matter what you do during the day. It's just so long as you can sleep at night," or something. I think it was something along those lines. And I think
that's sort of, the Empire has made that move before too. That's what happened on Scarif. They couldn't
they
get
killed
it
their own
under
people.
control, so let's just torch everything no matter who's down there.
Yeah. So some of that PTSD comes out in this scene, and you can see he's getting more frustrated as the conversation continues to escalate. And Valen Hess says, he makes this great line. He goes, everybody thinks they want freedom, but what they really want is order. And he was basically saying, the New Republic is out of control. They have no idea what they're doing. The Empire is strong in the Outer Rim. We're making a comeback.
Yeah,
and
fascists have been saying that for years.
So it was a very bold statement. I think that's where he went, no, that's not what people want. People want to do, what they want to do. And
he used his freedom.
And it was interesting because he goes, and I think it was Miggs earlier had made a comment about ruly. I forget the rest of the line, but it was ruly something while he was talking to Din in the cockpit. And it was very opposite of what it was kind of along what Valen Hess had said. But I think at that point, what Miggs had said earlier, he no longer believed. And he went, no, that's not what we want. We want that freedom. We want to be able to choose. And so he just drops a blaster bolt to his chest out of the blue. And I think at that point, Din looks at him with this face of surprise, and he's like, we can shoot now? Okay.
Yeah, I think he was ready to be like, oh, now I can contribute again. Yeah. Thank you.
He's like, oh, I can do stuff. But he shoots him right in the chest. There goes Valen Hess. It's a beautiful shot right there.
Which, good thing he recharged that blaster that he ran out of blaster bolts and threw away on top of the transport earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
And then the shore trooper comes up, and he's like standing there looking at him. And then Miggs hits this little drop back chest shot and takes out the shore trooper across the hall. And here's where you can really kind of see how much of a sharpshooter Miggs was. Just with the blaster.
A lot of accurate shooting in this episode.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So he dispatches a bunch of troops there, and at this point they're like, all right, we got to go out through these vents in the cafeteria. So they make their escape.
Very suspicious. You're not supposed to vent from the cafeteria. It's an Among Us joke because I'm very cool.
We appreciate that immensely. I mean, it's sus.
So they go out, and there's troopers trying to get them. Here's where Fennec and Kara are displaying a exceptional array of sharpshooting skills from a cliff kind of adjacent to where they're getting out of.
Calling shots. It was cool.
Calling shots. You see the gunnery troopers up on top. You see the gunners up on top trying to get to the cannon.
Yeah, the
they can't do it.
Gun.
Yep. They take out more troops. They start the climb to the top, and then
thank you for noticing.
As they get to the top, what does Din say? He's like, "Hurry up!" And he's like, "What the hell do you think I'm doing?" And here's that Bill Burr wit again, and he's like, "What do you think I'm doing? I'm coming." And they get to the top, and they go running across, and here comes Slave One. Yes, love it. Bill looks like he's struggling here.
We did skip over the moment where Miggs handed him his helmet back and said, I didn't see anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I forgot that. Thank you. Yeah, he goes,
which was a great moment.
You did what you had to do. I never saw your face, is what he says.
Yeah, they both have some new respect for each other.
Yeah.
Redemption.
And I think that was a good point where we look at all rebels and we go, not all rebels are good. I mean, Saw clearly did some gnarly things. We look at all Imperials. You can't look at all Imperials and go, all Imperials are bad, even though they've done some gnarly things. So I think both sides of war are equally bad. Yeah, he is now an ex-Imperial.
I don't know that you could put the good label on any active Imperial.
Hey, a couple of them turned spy, my man.
Yeah.
Think of Hot Callus before he was hot.
But they're not good until they turn.
No longer.
Kyle, did you call him Hot Callus?
Yeah, Hot Callus.
You don't know about Hot Callus?
We know about that Hot Callus.
Okay, good. Just
You
like those mutton chops. Right?
And if you
There's
haven't,
regular Callus and Hot Callus. Yeah.
If you're on the show, we put up a Twitter poll on who would play a live action Hot Callus. Yesterday? Was that yesterday? 2 days ago? I think.
Doesn't matter what day it was.
Yeah.
Time means nothing this year.
Yeah,
we put it up
sometime this year.
Christmas.
And I don't know. I think was it Hugh Jackman or
I'm gonna see
no.
I want to see who's winning right now.
Can it be Liev Schreiber? I want
Yeah,
Liev Schreiber.
Liev was
That
up
was
there.
my pick. That's who I suggested.
That's who I voted for. But who was the second guy you had up there, Josh? I can't remember his name. He was, I think, ahead.
Was it Tom Hardy?
Nikolai, the guy who plays Jamie Lannister.
Ooh, Nikolai Coster-Waldau. I love that man.
I can see that.
I think he was winning. So
he is hot.
But we did leave it open. We had another category, so if you've got a better suggestion, you can go to the Twitter poll and comment who your other hot callus would be.
Right now, Nikolai has 42%, 42.4.
It's puppy time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not.
No, I'm trying. Just give me a second. He's half asleep.
Go ahead,
waking your I let mine stay. There he is. He's making eye contact.
Puppy time. Dual puppies. But yeah, and Hugh Jackman is in last place with 15%.
Wow.
And only one person commented or
Kelsey Grammer.
How did we not think of Kelsey Grammer as hot callus?
No, I'm sorry.
Tiernan's out here with the hot takes.
Figure it out, Tiernan.
That's funny. Oh my god. But yeah, so to your point, yeah, he basically hands him that helmet back. He
Relevant.
Says, oh, very nice.
Hot callus pin coming up.
Yes. Got to get a hot callus pin.
Somebody already has one one of our favorite makers, and I can't remember which one. I think it might be Luminous Beings. Has a hot callus. It's like callus in a heart.
So heart callus, not hot callus.
No, it's hot callus though.
Hot callus.
Hot callus.
Hot callus in a heart.
Yeah.
Hearted hot callus?
Yeah.
There's something going on there.
Oh, you know who else would be good? Oh my god, I'm blanking on his
Brandon
name.
doesn't even know who hot callus is, but he's voting Matthew McConaughey.
Sons of Anarchy. He's usually my Kate Skywalker fan cast. Charlie Hunnam.
Charlie, there you go.
Nice.
Nobody
wants a John Heater as hot callus? No? John Heater? No?
Oh, there's a puppy.
It's a Bucky.
Puppy cam back.
Nice. Looking very comfortable. Very comfortable. And we're back around. I'm calling Kelsey right now. I'm gonna get him in the Star Wars.
Kelsey Grammer,
universe.
I don't see it. I don't see him in the Star Wars universe. He could be like
an imperial officer or something. Yeah, like a senator.
He's funny though. He could play. What's the character in Rebels, or is it Resistance? I'm blanking. I think it's Resistance. Hang on, I'll get the name.
There's a hot callus. Look at that.
There you go. Look at those chops. And a little V cut right here. That's some impressive.
Yeah.
That's some impressive beard maintenance right there. That is impressive. But we get to the best part. My opinion, the best part of this episode, where Din and Miggs jump on the back of Slave One with the open hatch, and they get in and they sit down, and here come
Firefly move. I loved it.
2 Imperial TIE fighters on Slave One's tail, and Boba goes, "We've got company."
Oh, God.
And he goes, "Hold on," and he just like turns the stick and takes Slave One in a different direction. You see them just shift in their seat this way, so you can clearly see how maneuverable Slave One is. And he just goes on this climb, and the 2 TIE fighters follow him. And all of a sudden, you see the back hatch open up like this, and the seismic charge comes out, and he drops it. And then all of a sudden, you get that fantastic sound, that so recognizable sound from Attack of the Clones of whatever it is. That's my attempt at it right there.
Well, you can't forget like the lack of sound before it.
Yes, the giant like suck of air and sound.
There's like a
and
vacuum or something.
A hold-on maneuver.
Yes, that was my favorite part of this, and I was just throwing my hands up, enjoying every minute of that as they escape the 2. Oh, and I forgot, Miggs, he shows off his sniper skills again. He takes out the top of the tank, which causes the Rhydonium to blow up, which destroys the whole base, which I also thought was interesting because it looks like it was a dam.
Sniping skills.
Yeah, it looks like it was like a dam as well. And
the Imperials like to build their fortress with a front wall like that on a ledge, or
it's very James Bond villain-esque.
Yes,
very much. Yeah.
I was just a little worried because I'm pretty sure all of the water was to the left and all of the kind of water coming through is to the right. I think it was
a cliff face. I don't think it was a body of water.
I'll have to go back and look. But it was a little concerned because I'm like, okay, wait, you just blew up that whole thing. What's down in that valley below the dam that's about to get wiped out by all that water? But
just the villagers.
Yeah, just the whole, all those villagers and wildlife. Yeah, it's okay. But anyway, we arrive back. They go to a safe spot somewhere else on the planet. And here we get Mando back in his full Mandalorian regalia. That is not Mando. That is Hot Callus.
That's a Hot Callus in a heart right there.
You guys know me. I don't care what we're talking about. I'll bring up the thing I was talking about 10 minutes.
I'm sorry, but that should have been a Heart Callus, not Hot Callus. They missed out on some marketing.
That Callus hasn't come hither, eyes.
Missed opportunity, guys. They should have run it by us.
I'm really good at puns. Just read any of my articles. I'm special.
Yeah. So we get to this meeting between Din and Cara and Miggs. And I think at this point, Miggs is basically resigned to go back to his life on...
Go start chopping up TIE fighters.
Back on the chop shop planet. And he's like, all right, officer, put me in cuffs, take me away. And he's ready to go. And at this point, Cara and Din basically say, oh, it's a shame. Miggs died in that giant explosion of that base trying to help us. And he looks really confused here. He's like,
it took him a long time to catch on to what they were doing.
Although it could have been like they were about to just shoot him too.
That's what that's what I was thinking too. And I'm sure he was probably like, oh crap.
Well, he walked backwards. He was like, so I'm good. I'm not turning my back.
Yeah. And finally Din gives this little nod like, yeah, go ahead, get out of here. And he just his body language, he's like, yeah, man, go ahead, you're good. And he just walks off into the woods. He just wanders off into the sunset. Happy ending for Miggs.
And he was like grinning. I was like, homeboy's happy.
I think he maybe felt like a little bit like in himself. Like I think he probably felt good about what he did and kind of said, hey, this Valen Hess guy was responsible for several thousand deaths. I just took out him and a whole bunch of my former, employers. Coworkers. I feel pretty good about it.
He also made sure that something like Project Cinder wasn't going to happen again. Because remember, that's what he was saying is like, oh, well, we're going to do it again. And that's what really made him snap.
Yeah. So he said, what was it? The Burnham Khan was going to look like mild compared to what we're about to do with all this Rhydonium. So, but yeah, he just kind of walks off into the sunset, super happy, like, hey, here we go.
He's going to become the folk hero of that village.
Yeah. He'll have a statue. Somebody asked, I think earlier in the chat, if you think we're going to see Miggs again. Does anybody think we're going to see Miggs again?
I'd never say no.
Yeah, especially with Mandalorian.
They're alive. You never know.
It's true. I would say with the performance that he delivered in this and knowing his character is still alive, I think there's a good opportunity for him. Maybe like obviously not in next week's episode, but I think next season for him to come back in some way, shape or form to help Mando again. So I think that'll be.
I would really love an interaction of Den with his helmet off in season 3 because he's like changing his way up, and Miggs comes back to like help on something, and he's like, "Oh, so you're doing this like full time now with the helmet off?" And whoever else is around was like, "He saw you without your helmet on," because it would just be so funny. But probably more humor than this series usually has.
Oh yeah. So where do you guys think next week? Clearly, final episode of the season. Right, big season. I forgot. Yes, so we get this. We go back to Moff Gideon's ship, his Imperial cruiser here, and Katie O'Brien comes in and says, "Sir, you need to see this." Officer O'Brien, you need to see this. And she puts this hologram image of Din Djarin up. And it's basically the same message that Moff gave to him when he was when he was trapped in the pub with everybody else, and Moff was trying to get the kid. And it's the same message. And I think at this point, Moff Gideon goes, "Oh crap, I'm in trouble." Like I shouldn't have done that.
This was the Taken moment that I have been waiting for. I have annoyed everyone with my Taken comparisons, but he went full Liam Neeson.
I have a particular set of skills.
Which is fine by me because Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah.
But he went full taken father right there.
Mhm.
And I was like, in that moment, the Din has fully committed. That is his kid, and he's getting him back.
Yep. And he even says, you have no idea how much that kid means to me, or how much that child means to me, or something like that. And at that point, you're like, oh boy, you pissed daddy off.
And what was
here
great
comes
was that
daddy
it was essentially the same.
It was
The exact same thing that Moff had said last season, but the difference was that there was actual
It's a
meaning
different
behind the
context.
words.
Mhm.
And we know
you have
that
no
he
idea
was
how much he
thinking.
means to him because he's doing a science experiment, or you know how much he means to me because
He's my
important
child.
to me, like he's my son, my adopted child, or my foundling, or whatever.
Yep. So that was a good point right there. Miggs Mayfield and Rangers of the New Republic with Cara Cynthia Dune and Fennec Shand.
No.
I could see that. I
No.
could see it.
can't. No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, he give him a bigger role, give him a little bit more.
Yes, he's fine. No
expression.
Cara. No Cara.
Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, she's probably
I
going to
think
be
that's
in
probably
that.
how that's
So
Nope, not
I-
announced.
I actually don't think that because
I
they
don't
didn't
think
announce
so.
her when they were announcing the show. So
did they announce anybody?
They tagged Rosario.
Rosario
and
was
Ahsoka.
all over this.
Ah.
They didn't
Okay.
touch her, and she
Nope.
didn't even interact with
she
it
didn't
or
tweet.
retweet
She
it.
didn't say
Hmm.
anything either.
So maybe that's not the Cara Dune show then.
Bad behavior
No.
has consequences.
I don't know. I'm just gonna say there's a lot going on with Rosario Dawson right now as well. So I know
It's
it
different.
slightly, but
It is
there's a lot going on
Also,
there that a lot
Rosario
of people are not
Dawson's
happy
a good
with.
actress. That's a big difference.
Well,
I'm just
yes.
saying. I'm
So
just saying
if
she's
you-
super talented.
I could get into semantics with that, but
Yeah.
Um,
We're going off
We'll do
topic.
it.
yeah, you're
After
going off
show,
topic here.
after
So
show.
Maggie and I have lots of feelings.
yeah,
Yes, very
so
many.
but there's a lot of people that are unhappy with that as well. So until they come out and they confirm these kind of things, it's hard to say. And the one thing I would say that we all agree with is people that come out over the summer before these shows ever release, please, if you know something, do not post spoilers. Do not post, I've heard blah, 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 blah. Just leave it alone, people. Nobody likes spoilers. Nobody wants to touch those. No scoopers, no nothing.
Baskin Robbins.
Leave it the way it is. Let it come out when it comes out. That's half the fun of watching these shows, is seeing these moments when these characters are revealed for the first time that you had no idea was going to be in it. That's why next week I would love for somebody to appear in that season ending show that we had no inkling was going to be in it at all. Very much like the child in season 1, we had no idea that was going to be there. And to get something like that in the season finale going into the 3rd season of Mandalorian would just be a jaw dropper. And that's what I would love to see.
Like, weren't you guys shocked? Like, you kind of felt like maybe the helmet was going to come off, but you weren't, like, sure? You're like, maybe they're saving it for the finale. It was still that shock and that rush.
I thought it was like a tease. I was like, they're teasing us. They're just teasing
you
us.
guys teasing me with his face.
Because there was a moment
love
when
that-
he
I love
was
that
he was
feeling.
fighting with the pirates and his head was dangling
Yeah.
over. And I was like, your helmet's gonna fall off. And I was like, I don't want this to be how it happens.
Like just in a random scuffle, like with a
Like,
pirate, like
He
please
falls
no.
over too far.
It's
and
so
look at
bad. Yeah. But I love the episode. To your point, Candace, it was a great character builder. It was a more of that world building that we love in Star Wars. Thoroughly love to see kind of Miggs get a little bit of a backstory, because when he was first revealed and in season 1 as a Imperial sharpshooter, I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool. I want to learn more about that. Let me hear more about that. And to get that backstory on who he was, I still don't think we got why he left the Empire or what happened there, right? I'm just going to assume after the Empire fell, he just was like, all right, I'm gone. Peace out. But I don't know.
Just after Cinder, he was like, I just watched all my friends die.
That's kind of what I figured, is like, he was just like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm out.
Yeah.
And just kind of quit. But we didn't really get that. I don't think like the full story behind it, that he just pieced out. So, but yeah, I thought it was a great episode. It was a lot of fun. Love the Mad Max car chase scene. Probably not my favorite episode of the season, but definitely really, really good. And they've been killing it this season. And yes, Rick, is it Fumuyiwa, was just awesome in this episode. Like every director they have on here has just nailed the content, the story, the characters that they're supposed to be delivering. And it's just absolutely fun to watch. Love it.
Just one thing about him is his movies and series have been character driven. They're not action. Mandalorian's the first time he does action. and it really shows that he knows how to work with actors and how to grow characters and stuff like that. So yeah,
I mean, Bill was almost crying.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
Seriously.
Yeah,
they got him.
yeah. You don't just quit the Empire, Tiernan.
I mean, Han Solo did.
Yeah.
That's true.
So did Sabine and Wedge. And
Well, did he get quit or did he get kicked out?
A lot of people.
Yeah,
He walked
with
out.
it.
He walked
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, that's true because he went to join. What's his name?
Who?
Han went to join. What's his face?
Yeah, he definitely quit. He was
Yeah,
like,
I can't think of his name.
Harrelson
Yeah,
person.
Woody Harrelson's character. I can't think of it. Why can't I think of his name right now?
Beckett.
Beckett. Thank you. Yes,
Right.
Beckett. Who killed Aura Singh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's related
Yeah,
to Boba?
the
It's
fall
all tied
killer. He
together.
just pushed her.
It's all tied together.
Yeah. He didn't kill her. The fall killed her. Yeah.
yeah.
All right,
Love
guys. Do you guys have any other thoughts, comments, anything on this episode?
Can we just pull up
Anything
Brown
coming up
Eyes
for the
again?
final
pull up
episode
Brown
of the
Eyes.
show?
Need
Season?
brown eyes. I need a brown,
Brown
eyes.
eyes.
Fix. There we go. Thank you.
Smolder. What a look.
Look at that face. Look at that face. Look at that hair. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that profile. Look at that man.
I want a mix to be like, why are you cupping that up?
Seriously.
I love the mustache if he's never taken his mask off. though.
Yeah.
He keeps.
It's like he's making a
He
choice
shaves in
based
private,
on
yeah.
fashion, but then nobody even sees it.
He looks at himself in the mirror before he puts his helmet back on to go to sleep.
But like the whole point of the helmet is that you don't care about
Look
your
at that
appearance.
face!
And then like
Maybe
That's
he
gonna-
maybe he
that's gonna
cares
be his
about his
face.
appearance when he's by himself, and he's like,
It's a
I really
Rick and Morty bit.
like a mustache.
He's like the stash stays.
Stop it.
Oh, Josh.
Josh.
Breaking her
Yeah.
grip.
Just
Oh
like
my
the
goodness.
two things that killed in.
Space daddy.
Okay.
There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Nice. Dead Bada Fit. Love it. So any predictions for next week? Has anybody got any bold off the
I
cuff
wanna know-
predictions?
do you guys think he's getting the child back next week, or is that cliff hanging into
I
next
can't
season?
wait until Christmas. I cannot. We don't get a new episode until Christmas 2021.
Can you imagine? Okay, I think it would hurt. Like, children watch this.
It's too much.
Also,
It's too-
I watch it. It's too much for me too.
I'm a child.
Not
I am
just children.
child. I am baby. I can't do it.
They had to wait 3 years to get Han out of carbonite.
Hey, how long did you have to wait to find out that Boba Fett was still alive?
Even longer than that. So 1 year to get the kid back is not that long. I
Literally
think
your
is what he's
entire
saying.
life, pretty much.
Yeah.
No, he was alive until Disney bought him in 2012.
He was
So-
alive in
Yeah,
your
okay,
heart,
fair.
right?
Well, no, the
No,
book
I know.
art
Yeah.
came out.
You.
He was alive in the EU.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
know.
I don't think he's
Yeah, think about this. If for him to get the child back, he's going to, in one episode,
yeah.
get to Moff Gideon,
We
get
don't know who's
people,
directing
get
next
to
week.
Moff Gideon, break into the ship,
Right?
fight him and take him down, beat all those
Dark troopers.
dark troopers, and get the child. And seems like a lot to happen in
Dale
one
said
episode
it was like
to
going to
me,
be like
guys.
70 minutes, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be really
Still
long.
seems like a lot to happen in
Oh,
an
I thought he was
hour-long
being
episode.
funny because he said it was
Oh.
69
I thought it was-
minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, never mind.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was slated to be a long episode.
Yeah, it's supposed to be long. But okay, this is what I think might happen is Gideon isn't actually the big bad. Something else comes. Someone else comes. Like, I don't know.
Thrawn.
Ron? What?
Thrawn.
Thrawn. Oh, there's like, who's Ron?
Ron
Ron
Weasley.
Swanson.
See,
So-
like, I don't want to be in
Swanson
this.
shows up,
Okay,
yes.
just so
Yeah.
you
I'm
all
Ron
know,
Burgundy.
it was actually an allusion to the spiders and the butterflies. Ron Weasley is the ultimate villain in The Mandalorian. You're hearing it here first.
Space
Yeah.
wizard.
Yes.
Space
It's all been
wizard.
there. It's been clues all along. It's Ron Weasley.
Yeah.
Ladies, I got bad news. This season is going to end, and that child is going to be a prisoner.
Kyle,
Sorry.
how dare you?
It's
Okay.
It's not happening.
Isn't it-
It's not-
isn't it
he's not
weird?
getting
Kick him
out.
back in
Kick
one
him out.
episode.
Isn't it weird how like I
Fucking
hear like
dick
this
up, so I
like
can't.
breeze? I hear this like breeze. I don't hear anything.
I just
Yeah,
I want
I
to give
don't
you
know what
guys
he's
some
talking
time
about.
to prepare. Wrap your brain
No.
around it.
Yeah.
I don't want
We're
you
gonna have
to
a
It's
be
gonna
Merry
be
freaking
hard,
Christmas.
and I think, but that's what gets you. That's what's gonna make you wait for another year. Is what happened to the child? What's going on? He's still stuck there. I don't think he's getting him back. I think it's gonna be too much for him. I just don't. see it happening even in that episode. And yes, I do think there is another reveal. I would love for there to be another reveal of another character. Some other level person arrives that's worse maybe than Moff Gideon.
Is this the big bad you were talking about?
Yes.
How did you find that so fast?
That is awesome. Yes, Thrawn Swanson arrives, and everyone is terrified at this point because he has a better mustache than Din.
I just think, seriously, merchandise-wise, that it would be bad if like Baby Yoda's still trapped, and then kids are getting like Baby Yodas for Christmas. And they're like, but Baby Yoda's in handcuffs with the bad man, you know.
Mom, where did I get
sorry
the
if all the
tiny
children
handcuffs
feel
for
that
my
way.
Baby Yoda?
I'm just telling you, I don't see it happening.
Kyle, you don't want the children to have a Merry Christmas? Is that what you're saying?
Fuck them kids.
YouTube.
Hey, whoa!
No, I'm just telling you what's gonna happen, man. That's my opinion. I don't think that child's getting. I don't think they're gonna rescue him in one episode, and because like we're gonna build this all up for like 2 whole seasons for a confrontation with Moff Gideon where he's on screen for 1 episode. I don't know, man. I just don't see it.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna drag it out.
I don't know, and that I would say this: the merchandising sales. I think if they haven't slowed already, they either overproduced on the child or they've slowed because you can find the child everywhere now. He is
like
literally
Frozen.
Yes, it is
crazy.
everywhere. I mean, you couldn't find it at the end of season 1 because they didn't have it out. And as soon as it was coming out, people were buying it up in waves, and then they just amped up that production. And now you can find the child literally everywhere. I mean, he is at Kohl's, he is at Costco, he is everywhere. Like you can find 8 to 10 of, they look like gremlins at this point. They just keep multiplying. So it is everywhere. The child is everywhere. Whether you like it or not, he is to be found everywhere. So
including with his father, Din. After the end of this episode, Kyle.
I hope it happens for you. I hope it happens for you. I'm not saying I don't want the child to be rescued. I'm just saying I don't think that seems likely.
That was a cool scene, though. I love that one. The child's like, wee! Yeah, that scene was great. Candace,
that seems a little likely.
I think we're gonna wrap it up here. We're gonna take it home finally. We've been rambling on for about an hour and a half about this episode. We love this episode. It was great. Candace, where can our listeners and our viewers find you at on the social medias?
We're at the Geeky Waffle and everywhere but Twitter. We're Geeky_Waffle, which is right there. And tomorrow, Maggie and I have our Mando Night Live, where there will be a lot of fangirling out with her and Arzu.
So much.
They've already threatened me.
Nice.
Hey, I'm just threatening you with a good time.
Nice. Rest of you guys, where can they find you guys at? Josh?
I am Battle of Tanab on Instagram and Twitter.
This is Kyle, and as you can see right there, I am KB_legend on the Twitters and Instagrams and anything else probably.
I am not Beaumont. I am Maggie, and you can find me at Maggie of the Town over on Twitter.
Nice. I'm Justin. You can find me at I am the Bendu. It's like right over here in the corner. You can find the Star Wars Friends on all social media at SW Friends Show, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can email us at show@starwarsfriends.com. And then we do our weekly show, our weekly podcast. We just rolled out our new episode yesterday, I think. We just dropped last week's yesterday, and then we should have the new one coming to you guys middle of next week sometime. So where we recap this episode a little bit more in depth. We kind of go back through, see what we find, and then we go from there. We always love having you guys on with us on Friday nights. It gives us an hour and a half to just kind of relax a little bit, talk about our favorite stuff, Star Wars. Read your comments, read your awesome quotes in here, your terrible dad jokes as well. We love it. We enjoy having you guys. If you have friends that want to listen, check us out. Please send them our way. We're happy to have them. But other than that, I think we are going to wrap this evening's episode up. Thank you guys for joining. And as always, we're going to end this in classic Star Wars fashion. May the Force be with you.
Always.
Always.
And also with you.
Good.
That's the new one.
All right, guys.
Good night to you, Mr.
Smolder.
Brown.
Is that blue steel? I think that was
Hey,
blue steel.
I had an idea earlier for the fundraiser. If you're one of the people that got a HasLab and you're upset about this and you want to return it, oh, you know what? The deadline's already up. This joke is. I was going to say you could use that if you returned your HasLab, you could donate that money to the fundraiser.
I like that.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's not as funny because the
Too late now. Sorry.
It's too late now.
You
If
tried.
you already did it,
I will
then-
applaud you.
Yeah.
But yes, be sure to donate
Yes.
to the Trans Rights or Human Rights. This is the Ray fundraiser. It ends on Sunday, December 20th, which is 1 week away. Which is crazy. But if something like really bad happens, maybe we'll extend it. Who knows?
Why would you say that, Maggie?
I'm just
Something
saying.
bad happens. What?
I'm just saying.
All right, guys. We enjoyed having you this evening. Please tune in next week for the last of these live shows, and we will be sure to have some awesome drinks and celebrate the end of a successful season 2. All right, guys. Take care. Good night. May the force be with you.
Bye.
Bye.